Hi, folks. Steven here. This is going to be another recap of another Pokemon Go Community Day. And the way this one is going to work out, of course, it was Trapinch based around that Pokemon. So we're going to talk about that. I have a little slideshow to go through here. Um, we're also going to talk a little bit about some updates on the channel. But first off, let's go ahead. If you have any comments about what you did or didn't get, or any questions about the channel or about Go Community Day, go ahead and type those into the chat or into the comments if you're watching this on replay. And I will try and absolutely get to those. All right. So first off, let's boot up our little presentation. Let's see, share screen. Okay, application window. Okay, so we're going to start this with a discussion of something I don't always talk about with these. And as you know, I'm based in Madison, Wisconsin, and the fall and spring weather around here can jump around quite a bit. And this weekend, things definitely shifted starting yesterday, kind of starting on Friday. Let me just show you sort of the weather trends that we're dealing with this weekend. So going back to the 8th, all temperatures, by the way, in Fahrenheit. Let's see. Got this all from our good friends, the National Weather Service, your tax dollars at work. But anyway, so the 8th would have been, let's see, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. So you can see up through Thursday, things were pretty stable as far as the high temperatures. Average high around this is in the low 60s. So we were a decent ways above that. And then on Friday the 11th, things dipped down a bit. And then on yesterday the 12th, things really went down to where we're now below average. This is hardly, totally unheard of for Wisconsin in October. There's always some variation there. But yesterday it was actually reasonably cold. High of only 49, according to the airport. Low of 33, so kind of get out of frost there, but not a hard freeze in this part of the state apparently. But I had to dress up considerably more than the last couple community days. I had to get wore my spring jacket. I got a vest on, a layer 2 clothes, hat, and it was decently windy. There were some decent wind gusts. I felt like I might lose my hat a little bit, but we'll talk about more about the weather as time goes on. So, all right, here are a couple AR photos from the start of my time. And by the way, about that chart, let me know how if it was okay for you guys to read. If I do more of those in the future, I may want to use a bigger font. But in any case, I can only assume, I think they may have done Trapinch as well last year. And I can only assume that part of that is because it's orange. It has a mouth type thing that's kind of jagged. And that makes it look just a little bit like a pumpkin. Now, it'll be interesting to see what they do next year because based on trends, by then they will have the Gen 6 Pokemon, which means that they'll have, let's see, not Trevenant. No, this is the other one. This is the Gorgeist and whatever Punkaboo and Gorgeist to work with, which is usually they do a 3-stage line for these, but I'm sure they'll do something for Halloween with those new Pokemon that are hopefully in the game by then. But I assume that's why they have Trapinch for October. And then on the right, you can see a Lillipup. Of course, speaking of generations, they just recently added the 5th generation Unova region Pokemon into this one. And still have a ways to go on that one for me. So still trying to catch a bunch of those to try and fill out that part of the Pokédex a little bit. But those were some of the earlier things I got here. As you can see, of course, some fallen leaves have already fallen off the trees, and with the wind and the cold snap that we have in the Midwest and Great Lakes over the last couple of days, not entirely surprising. Still a lot of leaves on the trees, though. I will say that. Peak is sometime in the next week here as far as fall colors go. All right, so as I went on, I actually had some objectives I completed through this one, and one of them was one of those daily research stamp objectives, and it actually happened to be my seventh. And I didn't have one of these. I know some folks have been complaining that this isn't the most interesting thing they could have done, but I did pick an Eevee with flowers in its hair, and as you can see on the right, take a look at that. It's got some pretty decent stats. Not perfect by any means, but good enough to rate 3 stars. So always good to see that. And we'll be seeing more of this Eevee a little bit later in the presentation. All right. So, yeah, like I said, it was not great outside. If they did do Trapinch last year, if you did, then you might have had better weather there. I can't speak for it personally, but one of the local I really decided I needed to get in and get something hot to eat. So I ducked into a Panera bread. No endorsement here, or I should say, no sponsorship involved here. To get some, you look at that middle picture, a hot chocolate on the bottom left, and then I got a smoothie to wait for the hot chocolate to not be quite so hot. But this is Panera is also happens to be a gym, and they actually just happen to have a level 2 raid, which is one you can feasibly, if you have got a good enough team, take down by yourself. So I stopped in there. Also, there's actually another gym not too far from, and I got to drop off Pokemon. We'll take a look at it later. But I have a little bit of an issue with the team it automatically picked for me. It picks some of your strongest Pokemon, which makes sense. But you take a look there, I've got 2 Lugia, a Gardevoir, and a Gengar. Those are all weak to ghost type moves, and at least 3 of them are weak to dark. And this Misdreavus had Dark Pulse. So it seems like kind of an odd choice for to even bother picking those out. If I'd had a little more time, I suppose I would have swapped out a couple of them for something that was a little bit better matchup. I did manage to get through the raid, though, and did manage to catch it there. And then you can look on the right. Now, I don't know if you can see this detail, but towards the bottom right of the right-hand picture, or really the bottom center of that picture, but bottom right of the screen there, let me move the mouse and see if I can show it to you. There you go, right there. So yeah, from the research, 7-day research thing I did, I actually did well enough. I actually got, one of the things I got in there besides a chance to capture an Eevee was a Sinnoh Stone. However, here, if I wanted a Miss Magius, I was well short on Misdreavus candy. Did not have nearly enough of that to evolve that one. But I did find a use for it yesterday. But maybe sometime later I'll get another Sinnoh Stone. It's kind of nice that they do actually just have a Sinnoh Stone, because there are like 4 or 5 Pokemon you can evolve using a Dusttone or a Dawnstone, and I think it's good that they sort of coalesce that down. That gives you, maybe makes the decision a little bit harder, but at least you're not chasing down that one particular evolution item. Still, the food was good, and getting a Misdreavus, it was a nice bonus there, and it gave me a little bit of time to warm up a little bit. Wasn't, record cold or anything, but it was not pleasant. Let me put it that way. Okay. So, caught, as you can probably guess, a lot of Trapinch on this community day. However, I actually never encountered, to the best of my knowledge, a shiny one. I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head which color that is. If anyone wants to type that in, go ahead. But yeah, so I sort of did appraisals. Love that new appraisal feature, by the way. And you notice these are all starred. I try to, whenever I get a 3-star Pokemon on the appraisal feature nowadays, I try to make sure I star it so I don't accidentally transfer it or something like that. And so I know when I go to evolve something, once I get enough candy, I can do that. So you see I've got 3 Trapinch here. The left 2 over there, excuse me, were ones I caught today. But the one on the right, it says 12/24/2018. That was, it hatched from an egg on that date, but from what I could find there, I actually got the egg last December, when I was in Anaheim. I must have picked up the egg there. And I didn't notice they're all female. Not sure if that's significant in any way. But you can kind of see there, they've got, let's see, they're slightly different sizes and weights. And that, interestingly, the weight and height are not directly correlated or 100% correlated. You can see the one on the right is a little bit taller, but weighs less than the one in the middle. for what that's worth. But I had 199 candy, and since I didn't have a shiny, I didn't have to worry about evolving 2 of them up fully. That was going to be more than enough candy for today. So which of these did I end up picking? Well, if anyone wants to put in a guess and then come back to the video, I'll give you a second to guess on there and then tell me if you were right. But the one I picked was the one on the right. You can tell by the date in here. So yes, so I evolved that first to Vibrava and then up to a Flygon, which is kind of nice because actually neither of those two I had in my Pokedex. So filled in a couple good spots there. And yes, of course, if you fully evolve a Trapinch, does not necessarily need to be one you caught that day. If you do it within the time frame that they have, but it doesn't need to be one you actually caught that day. You get Earth Power, which is it's a ground type move. The other one is Mudshot, is sort of the small move. You know how it works in Pokemon Go. You have a small move, and then you have a charge move that you have to build up to. And so those are both ground on this one. I thought I was about to sneeze. And you can see at the bottom there, it says Anaheim, California, United States, hatched. That's, like I said, I think that's where I actually acquired the egg. There's no way I was in Anaheim on the 24th, the day before Christmas last year. Pretty sure I had come back several days before that, and that just happens to be the day that I hatched the egg. But it uses the location where you actually got it. So if you ever wondered about that, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. You can see I have a fair number of things to go in the Sinnoh area of my decks in that immediate vicinity to Flygon, but always thought Flygon was a pretty cool Pokemon. It's never seen all that much competitive play or anything like that. It's got the levitate ability in the games, so it can't be hit by ground moves. It is still take 4x damage from ice type moves, and obviously it's got fairy to worry about these days as well. I actually did have enough Trapinch candy left over to get a new attack if I wanted to, but I didn't really feel like spending 75,000 Stardust. They just wrapped up, by the way, a few days ago, that Stardust promotion that they were doing. All right, so what did I do with the Dusttone? I evolved a Murkrow that I had because I did have to fork over a few rare candy into Murkrow candy. But otherwise, yeah, I got up to 100 there, and with the Sinnoh Stone, I got a Honchkrow. Kind of an interesting evolution. Maybe not the most famous one from the fourth generation, but yeah, there's like Honchkrow, there's Mismagius, there's Yanmega. Let's see. Oh, there's Roserade. Don't remember if Licky comes in that way as well. It might. I think it does. Use one of the Sinnoh stones to do that. Somebody uses the Dawn Stone, Dusttone in Go. They're just one item. But relatively happy with that. Murkrow's fairly common Pokemon compared to I think some of the other ones in the game. So that was kind of nice. Now remember I had that Edie, right? And so I got a Jolteon out of that, which was pretty cool. Because actually of the 3 original Kanto evolutions, that was the one I was missing. So that was pretty nice. And of course it keeps the little flowers in its hair that you can see there. Eevee, thankfully, though, does have a relatively low number. So I guess I'll have to start going for the Espeon and Umbreon, which I think you have to do some walking with your Pokemon for that. And then I just want to show off on the right-hand side what the moves I got. So we got Thunder Shock, and then I got Thunder for Jolteon, which is actually good in a number of ways. I don't have a really good evolved electric Pokemon in Pokemon Go as of yet, so this is a good find. I actually have never managed to evolve a Pikachu because I have so few candy. I think I missed out on like an Alolan Raichu raid at one point. So really not had much in the way of powerful lightning Pokemon. Jolteon, not the most powerful one, but pretty decent, I would say. Let's see, and then this next one. Oh, I had a few other things that happened. Oh yeah, I powered up this Jolteon a bit because actually I was very near in a research task for, what was it? Oh, for some of the stuff from that startup thing they did a few months ago or whatever it was for the anniversary, I think it was. And I went for that, and I actually got a bunch of experience points. I even used one of those, I forget, it's a lucky egg or something like that is what it's called. But double that, and that was enough to push me up to... There we go. Level 27. Yeah, so I made it up another level in Pokemon Go. Got some items you can see over there on the right, and then in the right hand shot there, you can see my Metagross, which I left over at a gym not too far from the Panera Bread. And this was taken earlier today, so it spent over a day there, which is nice because there's actually a bit of an accomplishment for that one for gym defending time. And I guess with the weather this weekend, I picked maybe a good time for these things to go on. But yeah, what else did I do? I got to go to another raid. I got to do two raids yesterday. One of them was also a Miss Magius level 2 raid, or Miss Drevis. And that worked out okay. It was actually at the local bookstore that is in the process of moving. I don't know what happens if when a it's a gym. I don't know what happens when that moves. I'll have to see if that moves to its new location at some point, or if they take it out of the game, or anything like that. Right now, the gym is still there, but the store is in the process of moving. So, um, see what happens with that. But with this Metagross, you can tell it's shiny. In fact, if you look at the very bottom, it says Layton, Utah. I picked this up last year when I was over at Anime Bonsai in Utah doing my panel with Anne. So that was I had a pretty good time despite the weather yesterday. Might have wanted to dress a little bit more warmly than I did, even with all the layers of clothes. Would have been nice. It was particularly bad whenever I was walking to like south or west because you were headed into the wind that way. Usually, a south or southwesterly wind makes things warmer, but not yesterday. Let me tell you. Um, but yeah, let's see. I believe I have a few more pictures here. Okay. I wanted to add a little end note. This isn't the end of the presentation. We'll do a few more channel updates. And like I said, if you've got any comments on Pokemon Go Community Day for this month, please let them go. Giving me a notification there that, let's see. Really sorry about this. Okay. Sorry, it's giving me notifications here about email because I put it in the bottom right or something like that. I don't know. About some groups I'm in and my own live show. Sorry about all of that. But anyway, what I want to tell you about is you may know I do that. Well, it's pre-recorded radio show. We did one live episode that we kind of recreated recently, called From 8 to 64, and it's run out of a community center here on the west side of Madison. Now, the actual building is 11 years old. They last year had their 10th anniversary thing as part of the Harvest Festival, which is what you're seeing in these pictures is this year's Harvest Festival. But this year is actually the 40th anniversary of sort of the underlying organization that started back in '79. And so, it's since it's been so long, there are only a few folks who have been around and working back then who kind of remember that far back. But there were a bunch of people who had grown up in this neighborhood and did some talking there. There was one person down there. You can see they did a couple speeches there. But this community center is provides things to do for like at-risk youth and some small class stuff and things like that. So I kind of want to give a shout out there. But the actual underlying organization celebrated its 40th anniversary, and there was a big get together with some food and some other stuff. And I really enjoyed that on Thursday. All right, that should be the last slide. It is. Okay, one second. Let me get back to. There we are. Okay. So yeah, that was Community Day. Worked out. Obviously they can't control the weather, but yeah. So let's do a few channel updates. So let's see. So last week we also did a live stream. It was about the new composer on the Japanese side for the Pokemon anime, which is going to be kind of interesting to see how that one works out. And then let's see. A week before we did not have video, and then like I said, late last month, speaking of Anne, we did our Pokemon Snap discussion. I did just get my side of the audio cleaned up and over to her, I think last night. And as far as what's coming up, I have not heard back from Anne for a little bit, so I don't know. Ideally, I suppose next weekend we'd be doing our discussion of Pokemon Stadium's music. I've been playing a little bit of that. I actually got my since that's not on any virtual console service, you have to play the original cartridge as far as anything official. I picked up something called the Retro Tank, which is a very basic scaler, and I have an RGB mod N64. So played a little bit of that a day or two ago, and I'm prepping for that. Hopefully, that discussion will be sometime next weekend, but I do not have a date or time for you. It might get pushed back. Also, trying to brainstorm ideas for our next Why It Works little segment. Otherwise, other things to check out. If you have not checked out the Diancie discussion episode that I put out a couple weeks ago, please do that. But I think otherwise, that's going to do it for now. All right, folks, thanks.